Hey guys, this is Jason. This video it's gonna be slightly different because this video is gonna be a combo review of movies I didn't get a chance to film a review for yet. I didn't get to review these three films because I was busy doing my Halloween month reviews around October, so I didn't find the time to make separate reviews of these movies. So for this video, I'm only gonna be talking about three movies that I missed around October and September, mostly ones that are on streaming. And those films are Rebel Ridge, It's What's Inside, and Caddo Lake. And I'm going to talk about these films pretty quick and in detail because there are other films I want to review this month. Because if I go through all three of these films in full detail, this video will be really long and time consuming. So I don't want to take up a lot of time and make this a super long 20-minute video. That's not what this video is gonna be, so don't worry if you're worried about this being long. So if you want to hear me talk about my thoughts on Rebel Ridge, skip to this time. If you want to know my thoughts on What's Inside, skip to this time. If you want to skip to my thoughts on Caddo Lake, then skip to this time. And I did a similar thing last year where I did a combo review for movies like Chicken Run 2, Barbie, Gran Turismo, and Theater Camp. And that kind of thing where I have to lump a bunch of movies into one video does happen sometimes, but I hope you guys do enjoy that overall. So let's get started with Rebel Ridge, directed by Jeremy Saulner and stars Pierre as a former Marine who stumbles into this small town run by corrupted police officers who take his money that he was supposed to use to bail his cousin out of prison, and unfortunately that leads him to do some drastic measures. Rebel Ridge is a really good movie. It is a great drama where it shows how our main character, Terry, played by Pierre, tries to stay calm when he's talking to these cops, where he starts out as a calm guy trying to talk to them about wanting to get his cousin out, but unfortunately these cops just keep pushing things to him, and when things go too far, he has to take some serious precautions by trying to take his money back, which you don't really get a lot of that in most of this film, because most of this film is really about him trying to learn more about these cops and why they had problems with his cousin in the past, while he's also trying to get help from his lawyer named Summer, played by Anna Sophia Robb. Now the stuff that I said about the film is actually some of the stuff that I liked about this film, because it takes its time to get you to know the characters and some of the serious stuff that's going on with the police in the small town, and saving all the big action stuff for the third act. And when that third act happens, it is very satisfying and it feels like the entire film paid off. And what really makes this film worth watching is Pierre's performance. He is incredible in this film, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he does in the future. The cinematography is also a highlight, with how they shoot some of the action in the third act and with some of the nighttime scenes as well, making them look like nighttime scenes, where they don't use a bunch of overexposed lights on the actors in a nighttime scene, making it confusing on knowing if it's day or night, where they actually made the scenes very dark with only a couple of lights, making it look like it's nighttime, giving the film a more realistic feel. Now, as for issues, there are times where the movie can drag in some scenes, where it can focus on some subplots that aren't as interesting as the main plot, where it just feels like the movie does at times take a detour on some other parts of the film that don't relate to the main story. But overall, Rebel Ridge is a really good movie that I do recommend watching on Netflix, and I would even say it's one of the better Netflix movies out there. I'm gonna give Rebel Ridge a B+. It's What's Inside is directed by Jardin, and it's about a group of friends that go to this big house for a wedding, where an unexpected friend comes in with a suitcase that has a machine inside where it has the ability to make all of them switch bodies and makes it a very fun game. But then that fun game decides to make some of the characters slowly turn on each other and make them do terrible things. That's a very interesting plot and something we haven't seen in other movies before. A group of friends switching bodies and leading them to do some pretty bad stuff. And when all that bad stuff happens, the film gets more riveting when you see characters doing something that they wouldn't normally do in their own bodies, making some of those characters feel like they're becoming the villains of this film. This movie also does something interesting with the the lighting. No spoilers, of course, but they use different colors for the lighting in the film that are either supposed to match the tone or match what the characters are really supposed to be. Where when we see the characters in their different bodies, they would at times show them in their heads of who they really were in their real bodies by showing red lights on them and a black background behind them. But where the film does falter for me is that the characters suck. All of them suck. Even before the bad stuff happens and even before they start to switch bodies, a lot of these characters are very unlikable and at times very annoying. And makes it hard for us to understand who we're supposed to side with, like some of the main characters or some of the other characters that they are with. And it really doesn't help with how the film ends. But I do recommend watching It's What's Inside if you haven't seen it yet. It is on Netflix. It has really good acting. It has an intriguing plot. It has a great way of using lighting and gets very dark in the second half of the film. I'm gonna give It's What's Inside a B. Caddo Lake is directed by Logan George and Celine Held and stars Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon. An 8-year-old girl disappears into a swamp mysteriously, and two of the main characters, played by O'Brien and Scanlon, find out about what's going on in the swamp that relate to the past deaths that have happened. This is an interesting one because you're getting to know the characters in the first half of the film, and when you start to learn about them, the movie does at times feel a little slow. Where it is good to have that kind of stuff in the film, but this movie does it a lot to the point where they also use exposition explaining more of who these characters are. And the first 50 minutes of the film are just characters spitting out exposition that are supposed to explain who these characters are and what their pasts were like and some of the characters that they lost in the past. But once you know everything about the characters in the film, it definitely gets a lot more interesting in the second half of the film because there is a big twist that happens halfway in, which shouldn't be a big surprise because M. Night Shyamalan also produced this film. And I honestly love it when a twist like that happens, getting you to know the characters and giving you a twist that completely catches you off guard. Like the kind where I was watching the film and thinking to myself, okay, this movie has some good acting and a good atmosphere, but this is kind of getting a little boring and they're giving a lot of exposition, so hopefully this film will pick up. Okay, now this film has my attention. Wow. And it makes the first half of the film feel like it matters more and shows how the rest of the film was setting up everything that was happening for the second half. And that is really what makes this film really worth watching. It can get a little slow with some of the exposition, but it definitely makes it worth it with that twist and what they were able to pull off in the second half of the film, making the first half feel like it matters more. It has really good acting from our main leads, and it has a great atmosphere for when the characters are out in the swamp. I'm gonna give Caddo Lake an A-. And those are my brief thoughts on movies like It's What's Inside, Rebel Ridge, and Caddo Lake. And I decided to review these films now because, again, I was busy with my Halloween month reviews, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of films being released in Novembers in theaters. Sure, you got movies like Moana 2 and Gladiator 2 coming out this month, and Wicked, but not a whole lot coming out in November. But there's definitely gonna be a lot in December. Trust me, there is a lot. So guys, let me know how you feel about these films if you haven't watched them yet. Rebel Ridge is on Netflix, It's What's Inside is also on Netflix, and Caddo Lake is on Max. Let me know how you feel about all three of those films in the comments below after you watch them. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.